Okay, we got another one of Jeff's books that I got here, Blunt Weapon Tactics. I like the cover. It's just the friggin', black and white. It's not black and white. But what's this underneath? What is that? Oh, the Lost LaFond book, right? That actually got published by those damn, right wing gun nuts, Paladin Press. Right?
They accepted that in 2001 and published it in 2011 because they were slowly going out of business during the odds.
Yeah.
Donna DeVal did a very nice job with this book.
What's cool about this book too is you have actual. I like that the photos are from. Well, you'll see, but we'll go here to Jeth's book on blunt weapon tactics. I really like this book. Smaller manual. The whole idea again in England, in the UK, you're not allowed to have anything. Okay, so basically, when you think of like stick fighting, like the stuff that we've done, you think of the. You had a picture here. You think of essentially, right, 28-inch long purpose-made stick for, kali, eskrima, or a baton, let's say like a police will have. Well, you can't have that in the UK. So you can't even have those weak-ass collapsible batons for self-defense. You can't have anything for self-defense, really. So everything is based on the fact of picking up a weapon of opportunity. So essentially the stick fighting techniques in some ways are similar in between, like you'd say, like almost shorter than quarterstaff, cane fighting. He even brings up, the idea of using what they call, of course, electric. Remember electric torches back in the early 20th century? The flashlight. He brings that up. Just like Icy Mike, if you know Icy Mike from Heart to Hurt, recommends the flashlight. And it was in here somewhere, but you get my point. The stick fighting here is sort of the training method isn't so much the asterisks. I don't know what else to say. The angles of attack that you get from the Filipino martial arts, which they got from the Europeans, right? It's sort of like a pugil stick. It's a combination of like a kata and a pugil stick drill that they would do in all the different militaries, right? So right here, he actually has it as like there you go. There's a flashlight, right? You get the torch, right? Obviously, a standard flashlight, you can only apply steps 1 to 3. He's broken down the combat method in here into steps, right? Kind of like I said, like a kata or a stick drill, right? And you have like 1 is essentially striking the person from this position here. What is it? That you hit him in the face, you check the shoulder, you hit him low, right? And then you sort of go to 2 hands, and the whole idea is that you're probably going to have either something really small like a flashlight that fits in your hand, or you're going to have something longer like a stick you find on the ground, or a broom handle or a mop handle. And it even brings up the whole thing like the up down hands, like the riot police training when you have a longer stick. Okay? Like I said, you're probably not going to pick up something that's like the shape of a kali stick. Or a machete. Although there are machetes in the UK, it's just that you're not a criminal. So I like how he broke that down into these 8 steps, and the last step is always to look around, right? Because what happens when you get into something, you get tunnel vision. When you're done, look around, scan, and then run. Get out of there in case he has mates or there's pigs around, right? So. I like the book. He had the different guards here, right? The different grips, like the alternating grip, like 1 up, 1 down.
That's the type of grip I used with my umbrella to defend against that pit bull.
Right. Well, for example, in England, it rains all the time. You'd have an umbrella, right? So, and my man James here used that umbrella, and so, like I said, very DIY, which is to say really cool. But now, I know you haven't read this yet. But like I recommend this. This is basically probably the first way someone should use if they pick up a stick. Like I said, it's probably better for someone. I mean, you could only use this way and be fine. And then if you want to really get into it, you go into like you need hand conditioning, you need reps, you need the Filipino type saber type stuff. But this is a real good introduction of what you're most likely going to have on you. I don't even think you're allowed to have a stick in your house. I don't know. I know they want to like ban kitchen knives over there too. Anyway, I don't want to say anymore. This book now, this was your, after The Logic of Steel, which was your infamous Blade book, much hated by, the charlatans and the money makers, right? The Logic of Force, right? And this, you said, this had a very long trip of getting published.
There were the original Violence Project, the survey of 1,675 acts of violence. It was just short of 1,000 interviews. I broke it down into 3 broad subjects: edge weapon encounters, mass attacks. They never published a mass attack book. That's When You're Food. We published that privately the same year that this was published by Powell, and blunt weapons. So when it came to weapon encounters, 10% were firearms, 11% were edge weapons, 13% were blunt weapons. This was the biggest category.
Yeah.
And then when you look at dangerous stuff, lethally dangerous stuff, outside of the weapon categories, and the worst weapon category situations, which is a group of people and one or more of them have weapons, that went into When You're Food. So the survey ended up breaking out into 3 different sections: The Logic of Steel, The Logic of Force, and When You're Food. So this, I think, is really the weakest of those 3 books.
No.
This is a nice handbook for like what people will do to you with blunt weapons.
Right.
Okay. Just the information. There's like really very little of how to.
Right. I think that's probably what got like certain nerdy people, involved in the editorship, from what I've heard. Basically not, bad mouthing this or not wanting to give this thing, because you're not really showing, which is funny because, okay, you read about what people actually do with it, okay? Why, it's like, was it Self-Defense Against the Sucker Puncher by Peyton Quidd? Right. It was like, when you read it, you're like, okay, all this karate stuff is nice. Why don't I just sucker punch people? And essentially, that's what self-defense kind of geared towards, was that, like the Jeff Thompson method. But in here, like, there's no how-to, right? Whereas, like, obviously, this is more of a how-to, which is pretty much the only thing you could possibly get away with using a weapon because of the laws in the UK. It's sort of geared towards that. And here, essentially, to be honest with you, also, it probably pissed off a lot of the gun guys, right? Like I said, here's the stick that you're not going to really have in the UK, on you. It probably pissed off a lot of people because there's a lot of crime in here. Okay, a lot of criminality, a lot of criminals getting away with stuff.
You find out that once a blunt weapon is deployed, it's used more violently. The least violently used weapon is the firearm. The firearm is generally used to achieve compliance, to get the hand over the goods.
Yeah.
It's not mostly used for shooting. It's mostly used a member of a pair. One man is just in charge of making sure that no bystander sees the gun deployed.
Right.
And if there's a third man, he's there to corner you, and the gunman is just there to get you to give your stuff to one of his associates. It's rarely an individual act. It's usually part of a group act.
Right.
And it usually doesn't involve firing the weapon. The knife, about 25% of the time, was just used for defense or for a threat. Usually a threat to get you to back off, a defensive threat. But when a brick came out, they tried to put it on you.
Yeah.
So it was like the more basic the weapon becomes, like in the edge weapon study, you can see the pen and the pencil kill more people than the sword.
Right.
Just because the people that are going to use a pencil are just more desperate and more violent than the person that's reaching for the antique sword.
Right. You get the whipstick, right? They made this out of a fishing weight, duct tape, electrical tape, and a wire hanger. I remember these things.
That was the African American preferred in the Washington, D.C. area in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, so like I said, this book, and also look, who's this dude? This guy, look at this dirty hip. Yeah, stomp him, kick him in the head, man. Look at this asshole.
Right.
Even the woman's kicking his ass. Who is that guy? Oh man, it's funny. That's why I love, like I said, the DIY aspect of it too. Look at this dude. Look at him. Oh, it's Southwest Baltimore. I tell you that the Southwest Baltimore literally looks like a friggin' bomb hit that place. It's visually the most like post-apocalyptic part I've seen of that city. So anyway, but the logical force, regardless, I think it has a place. Like you said, it doesn't have the how-to, which is why a lot of people would get the Paladin, books to be like the how-to, do this stuff. But anyway, two contrasting books here. So, and yeah, good job, Jeth, good job. This was really, really cool, man. This is really very useful stuff here. So, and all right, we're gonna go over some more books. So.